For this video, I bought special ones. Very accurate and expensive scales, which catch the smallest objects up to 1/1000th gram. This is so accurate that at the weight of a tea bag in 1 gram, they catch the tiniest grains. Even light blows of wind affect the readings. Noticeably how the paint dries, vodka evaporates, lit match, and a lot more. But let's not spoiler. No smoking, we will vacuum cleaner. Watching people smoke and shake ash. I've always wondered, if you leave him, will her weight change? Because the smoke in theory should weigh something. First, put a fresh cigarette on the scale and attach it to the holder. Set on fire. You can immediately see how the weight went down very quickly. Usually for a cigarette to burn, it must be tightened. In our case, she's just smoldering. As a result, combustion products are formed, which escape into the atmosphere. Because of this weight and reduced, a completely burned cigarette, lighter than new almost 2 times. For clarity, if the cigarette was this size, then evaporates about every 10 seconds. That's the kind of mass part. But these scales are capable of more, and not all items burning lose weight. This is still cotton wool. It is made like cotton candy, only from pure iron. And in fact, its fibers are micro iron, only very thin and soft. In real life, it is used for very neat grinding of wooden furniture. And also it burns. And that looks like some satellite shot of the city lights, or how information runs between neurons in the brain. Put it on the scales, set on fire, and immediately the figure starting to grow. As a result of burning, iron kind of takes oxygen out of the air and connects with him, turns out iron collider. And all the weight gained is oxygen molecules. It's hard to believe, but the mass of steel will increase by 40% too. Imagine, what do you have here is such a hefty steel cube. If it's completely burned, that is turnvocaling. Mass would increase so much. We took this example for clarity, but the eyes cannot believe that oxygen can weigh so much. I wonder what will happen to the air inside a regular balloon. Will his weight change somehow? Remembered inflate. Tie. And put on the scales. His weight increased by 3% compared to the bloated state. But there are balloons filled with helium. Their weight is negative, and they can even lift some small objects. For accuracy, you need to take into account even the weight of duct tape, stick, and where flew. Okay, this is me kidding. And the real thrust is about 9.8 grams. It means he can lift about 7 ordinary balls, inflated by mouth. And with a load of the same weight, the ball will be like an airship, soar at one height. And to lift a man, for example, my weight is 90 kilograms. You will need about 10,000 exactly such balls. This was me drawing. Helium balloon, the only item from this video, caused the scales to show a negative value. Good of this air. Let's move on to liquid. Everyone knows that at a temperature of 100 the water degrees, starts to boil and turn into steam. So this is how fast mass is lost. The boil has not started yet, and the numbers have already ran down. A little later, the water boiled, and you can even visually see how it leaves say so. If you increase gas, it instantly reflects on the evaporation rate, and the numbers fall even faster. If this system increases, then with this area of water, every minute a whole half-liter jar would evaporate. We also wanted to weigh the cylinder and see how gas is consumed, but it's too obvious. So we took a lighter. Inside, you can directly see gas floating. And in principle, its work is very simple. Silicone wheels generate a spark, which ignites the flow of gas coming from the tube. And if you bring it to your ear, then this gas can even be heard. Fix this button with a tie and put it on the scales. If anything on the scales, only the weight of the lighter is taken into account. Value creeps down, but not that fast. We decided to keep her to burn out all the gas and compare the weight. But she decided to throw it off faster. And then the case melted, and the gas mass reduction accelerated. Failed this experiment in general. The next test subject had to be set on fire with matches. It's plain paper. You already know in advance that mass will decline, but I wonder at what speed. By the way, what is the difference between mass and weight? Weight is the force with which the object presses on the plate of scales. Mass is a measure of the amount of matter. Here they match each other. For example, on the moon, where is less gravity, mass will remain here 308, but the weight on the screen on the moon would be way less. Therefore, in scales, they are masses. But there are things that lose mass by themselves, even if you don't touch them. Is the drink vodka? But since it consists of water and alcohol, in the amount of 40%, we will not use it. And take immediately pure alcohol for clarity. You can see on the screen how evaporation happens in real time. Eyes cannot notice this. If some drunk saw this, he would have emotional trauma. So much good is lost. What you see on the screen, filmed for 2 days. Alcohol slowly but surely evaporated. Myself without heating. That is later. 2 days you can continue the meal and discover that all your good is gone. I had to study at school. Then such situations would not happen. By the way, in addition to the lighter, forgot to test also such a burner with a cylinder. The flames are much stronger here, and accordingly gas consumption. See how fast. If you increase, then it's all the same. That with such a container comes out water under such pressure. Still from regarding the fire, we did not check the matches. They burn out, turn into coal. Fix her holders. Set on fire. And it is so clear that the weight immediately goes down, and the combustion products go away with the smoke. The wood is already shrinking, and the weight decreased 3 times. It turns out that if the match was like this, then every second this part of the mass would burn. At any hardware store, for sale means for cleaning pipes. They also call him a mole. It's alkali sodium hydroxide. So here we type in a glass of water. And not to violate the accuracy of measurements, weigh it right with the pack open pour. And stir. Over time, the reaction will begin and the mixture will heat up. What's so unusual about it? By kinda nothing this now. But we left the mix on 12 hours and she started to get heavy. Why after dissolving? The mixture started absorbing carbon dioxide from the air, and weight went up 5%. This is if you had a kettlebell like this. 2, it would add more like this. Weight increased smoothly, just like the schedule in the Crash game. Who doesn't know? Here you need to guess how high the schedule will rise. Or some guessed. The result is exuded so many times. On Dragon and many more interesting mini-games. There is, for example, Dragon Dungeon, where you need to guess which door to enter X. Step by step accumulates. But if not guessed, there is a dragon that burns all your progress. There is still Plinko. It's a type of paintball, where a ball is launched between the pins, and depending on the basket where it will fall. Such a result. The site works more than 5 years. Has a cool design, convenient input-output system, and good reviews. But do not flirt, because this is not some way of interesting time. And according to my promotional code in the fixed comment, you will get a bonus. As a kid, I really loved drinking fizzy vitamins, which need to be dissolved in water. Interesting. How much weight does such a pill lose dissolving? Pour some water. And before throwing, you have to weigh them together. Hiss and bubble formation begins. And the weight is actively reduced. After 40 seconds, the reaction subsided. We subtracted the weight of the water, and judging by the calculations, that pill lost 90% of its mass. The other 10 attack the active substance itself, and residues of reaction products. Not many things left, but all of them are interesting. Somehow walking past a toy store, I wanted to buy a mini quadcopter. Pretty, by the way, not bad. For its price, there is even some camera. Collect protection. And take off. Now, we are not interested in the toy itself. And in principle, its work. Propellers spin really fast, and as if repelled from the air. Something like a paddle in water. What will happen if you take one motor and turn it on the scales ball? In theory, we can measure his cravings, and the number on the display will be minus. Glue the test stand. Reset the scale to 0 and apply tension. Motor trying to fly up. However, the weight becomes even more. How so? And the fact is that air flows, generated by blades, also put pressure on the scales. But if you take these flows aside, the situation changes dramatically, and the motor really pulls the ball up. With not bad effort, 20 with something grams. It's more than a gel ball. The quadcopter used a battery, but as an energy source. Sometimes use batteries. We took one of the costest. Is the weight different? Fully charged and fully discharged. If you disassemble the case, then you can see that the filling consists of some substances, darker and lighter, and also rod, which goes to minus contact. During the discharge process, a chemical reaction occurs with release energy. But how do we know? The final mass may differ. For discharge, we decided to use a flashlight. Insert batteries. This is some very cheap lamp. These are usually sold at the supermarket checkout. Our task was just to use it. From time to time, we highlighted something on the case, and sometimes just played. Well for your money, basically a good lantern. Then we were already tired of just playing them like that, and we left him alone. R by R, the intensity of the glow faded little by little, and in general the process took about 30 hours. Batteries discharged at 0. Let's weigh her like this. The difference is noticeable. I did not think that would happen. Next thing usually lives in the bathroom, and its task is to absorb excess moisture. Moisture absorber. But we're not interested in the device itself and his heart. Here's this pill. She's pretty heavy. We put her on the scales and left to absorb moisture for 3 days. It's always pretty humid in this room, but a problem happened. The pill is heavy, and coming the next day I discovered that she crossed the limit of our weight, 500 grams. Sorry, but finding out how much moisture it will absorb did not work. Well, we have the most interesting. If you apply paint, does its weight change after drying? Because in fact, it is a process of evaporation. Pour a small drop. She's spreading, and I already wanted to turn on the hair dryers so that it dries faster. But watch! Real-time scales show how it dries. Any paint consists of pigment, which gives the color of the binder, and solvents, which simplify the application of paint, making it fluid. It is the solvents that evaporate. Surface hardened, and judging by the measurements, the paint lost 40% of weight. Well, at the end we have an inflatable pillow. She looks something like a mattress. And first I wanted to take it. Since being on holiday, I noticed that in the inflated state he seems much heavier. But the mattress will not enter the 500 grams limit. So remember weight. Inflate. Yep, turns out the weight difference of a deflated and inflated pillow only 0.34% or 0.38 grams. Not that much. The pillow itself is very heavy. The air is under pressure there. In the normal atmosphere, 38 grams is somewhere like this volume of air everyone buy.